excited to be here. Thank you for having us. And thank you for allowing me to share a little bit about Smalls, the Small story, and not only how we're building this brand, but most critically, how we're positioning the brand in the space to be disruptive. So I just want to level set for the next 20 minutes what we're going to talk about. And yes, we're going to talk about modular. We're going to talk about plenty around modular. My name is Maria, and I am the CEO of Small Sliders. And the first thing I want to do is share a little bit about the brand. Maybe you've heard about us, maybe you haven't. We are an emerging brand, seed level up to a year ago, now emerging. And I want to talk about how we're making a big impact with one product only, which is a small cheeseburger slider. If you had told me 5 years ago that we would be building a brand around one product and that product would be a little burger, I would have probably said, I don't know if there's enough space for handhelds today. But apparently there is. Our AUVs say so. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I often say to the folks in the teams or when I meet our candidates, we are the brand that you may have heard about, but that you certainly have not tasted. Soon to come to lots of states across the country. We have 8 market entries this year. We have 38 new units to go. We opened our first 5. We have 2 more to go in a couple of weeks, and then we have 38 more to go. But before we dive in, first let me take you back to where this all started. Have you ever heard of a cheeseburger slider kit or a cheeseburger kit? Well, let me tell you, our founder, Brandon Landry, not only loves cheeseburgers, actually he was a very picky eater, and all he did when he was going to Little League and playing, true story, he would make his parents stop and only go to all the big brands, legacy brands, only to eat cheeseburger sliders, and he would eat them for every meal, before a game, etc. He also is a big fan of the Sandlot. Therefore, if you ever wonder why we're called Smalls, it's you're killing me, Smalls. We call it you're grilling me, Smalls, because something about killing, I don't know how I feel about that. Okay, so this is Brandon, by the way. He's not a cheeseburger kid anymore. As a concept visionary, you may have heard about Brandon because he's the founder of Walk-Ons Sports Bistro out of Louisiana. And our brand was also, our concept was created in Louisiana. But he wasn't just fond of sliders and little cheeseburgers. He actually saw them as untapped potential in the QSR space. It also doesn't hurt that his best friend happens to be Todd Graves, the founder of Raising Cane's. So it's something about the waters in the state of Louisiana. Brandon thought that little cheeseburger sliders, or what I like to refer to as bro bites, meaning food that you traditionally serve in a bar, that they were destined to do something more. And for me, much like Brandon, my passion is fully deep-rooted into food and place of connection and bringing people together. I'm not that smart in terms of being able to come up with a concept and create it, but I consider myself a fairly good translator, so it allows me to come and work with Brandon and lift this brand together. Early days at the Walt Disney Company, of course, I've been around. I'm not going to date myself. Hilton, Caesars, Darden, Fridays, Logan's, and most recently, the last 7 years of my career that I spent at Krispy Kreme, certainly has allowed me the opportunity to develop my deep-rooted passion for brand building and for innovation. I like to stand out for a person that truly likes to build something that hasn't been done and, went to manufacturing for a long period of time. Now I am diving into manufacturing in a different way through modular build-out. And I saw when in the summer of 2022, this concept came across my desk because I'm a nerd. I love to study concepts that are going to go from seed to emerging. I saw that Smalls had untapped potential to really disrupt. I get this question asked all the time. Do you think the burger space is saturated? Maybe. I mean, our AUVs don't seem to say otherwise. So, with a lot of humility, we have an opportunity to come in and scale something that looks and feels different. So, at Smalls, our mission is simple. We want to make cheeseburger sliders better than anyone else. Period, end of story. We don't sell any other thing that is not a cheeseburger slider. So if you don't like meat, we're not the concept for you. If you want chicken, we're not the concept for you. We sell cheeseburger sliders, we sell milkshakes, and we sell waffle fries. And they're seasonal waffle fries because we started in Louisiana, so of course we have to have smalls and queso and seasonal waffle fries. And our mission is to make your day a small bit better. You know, when I had the opportunity to pen our purpose, it was very meaningful to me. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But my inspiration really started to come together from listening to Brandon and all the good that he wants to do, especially for children. And again, if you had told me that we would be scaling a brand that primarily focuses on children, I also would have said I didn't see that coming. Not many people know this, but like any of the big brands that we love and have come to love, Smalls actually started out of a food truck in 2019, New Year's Eve to be precise, across the LSU campus. If you've been to an LSU game, you know they get wild. And we would park the Smalls food truck outside, and people would come and have our product. And all of a sudden, you know, we thought, wow, this has a lot of potential. So feeling that there was enough demand, we decided to drop a can in Baton Rouge, our first proof of concept can. And from the moment it opened, Smalls actually was a resounding hit. It had no signs of slowing down. One of our other partners, Drew Brees, who funded the second can and then the third can, came together with Brandon to start thinking about the potential that Smalls had, especially in the modular space. You know, last year marked a pivotal moment for us. We were named Breakout Brand of the Year, one of the nation's restaurant news Breakout Brand of the Year, Smalls being ranked in QSR Top 50, top new and emerging franchisees. So all of a sudden, we were faced with the reality that our journey had far thus exceeded our initial goals and aspirations. So we are selling more cans than we initially imagined, which is not a bad problem to have. That said, we're also being very disciplined in the way we sell our markets. We are actually saying no more than we're saying yes. And we are taking this, you know, cheeseburger slider, again, this bro bite or bar food to the national stage, and hopefully shaking things up a little bit along the way. If you peel our Smorange color, I'm going to talk about Smorange a little bit later, we are, you know, selling more than actually a slamming cheeseburger slider. So we are now, of course, entering our 18th state. 55% of those states are already sold out. We're about to close 2 more states in the next couple of weeks. And our AUVs are north of $2 million, which is also both a privilege and an opportunity as we now are faced with the reality of our count is 750 square feet. So small living for you. You know, I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk a little bit about what we see in the consumer space and why Smalls is designed to do what it's doing. You know, one of the things, we've done a lot of research. We've engaged folks across the country to help us understand, similar to what the Cosmics Group was saying, what do people want from us, right? One thing is to having a successful footprint on where we're at today and having another 8 states coming up this year and then another 10 states coming the year after. So we had to do a lot of research in how we were going to position the brand. And one of the things that we've noticed is that anything that has been written about consumers in the last 5 years are talking about consumer fatigue. And consumer fatigue leads into consumer paralysis. So we decided, strictly because we have a small menu, that we were really going to be the antithesis of the amount of options that exist today in the space, and that we were really going to focus on a very simplified approach and living through the lens of simplicity. Now, I'm going to tell you this, it is very hard to drive simplicity, from operations to technology, to frictionless technology, to the way you build a modular, to how you're carrying your product. It's very difficult to do that because we all get massively distracted and typically tend to overcomplicate it, myself included. So when we are faced with this reality, we decided to position our brand like, we are the place where you just come and hang out underneath the canopy, have one great cheeseburger slider, hopefully a slamming milkshake, and sort of like walk away from your day-to-day life. And today, that's what we're seeing that the consumer wants, our consumer. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about our consumer a little bit later as well, because we're attracting all sorts of new generations of consumers. At Smalls, we take the guesswork out of our guests' hands. By the way, we call our guests frequent sliders. Everything at Smalls is either a can, a slider, you get the play of words. We have cheeseburger sliders, seasoned fries, milkshakes, and fountain drinks. That's it. That's all we sell. And it is the simplicity of our menu and how we're operating against that simplicity, meaning how authentic we can be, how easy we make it to the consumer, that it has allowed Smalls to evolve from, I may have heard about Smalls to, oh, I've heard about Smalls, to I want Smalls to open and drop a can in our community in less than a year. In the last 12 months, we've gone from this one-off slider concept and garnering some awareness to, wait, this brand and these people might actually be doing something really special. I admire a lot of brands, and I truly want every brand to succeed. 6, 7 years ago, you didn't even know about brands like Crumble or Dave's Hot Chicken, dear friends of mine. I know you had them early this morning, and it's so fun to see what they're building. So all of that to say is that I truly believe there's a space and a time in which brands can thrive. And hopefully this is a time for sliders to do just that. You may think that the star of the show is the slider, tiny little slider, but that's just one element of what makes Smalls special. As a matter of fact, what is really driving the explosive growth and interest of the brand is the can. So we use both modular and a sea can on top of the building. So we use both. This innovative strategy allows us to open locations from the moment you have pad ready, right? And we'll talk about the pad in a second because that's a whole other story, in as little as 8 to 10 weeks. Speed to market is an attractive benefit to modular, especially given construction, permitting delays, etc. If we do that by also creating an unforgettable, TikTok-able, very social, little bit in your face, nostalgic, fast forward thinking concept, then people want to utilize us. We've done also a lot of consumer research with the generations that we attract. Today we attract 3 generations of consumer. The millennial parent, or as we fondly call them in the office, the geriatric millennial. We also attract Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And this is an interesting place to be, because Gen Alpha today is 11 to 15, 16 years old. And when you start attracting Gen Alpha, you have to listen. If you are the parent of a Gen Alpha, we call them the Gen Alpha decision makers, you are in no control of your decisions in your household. You just don't know that. So we at Smalls really focus on Gen Alpha. A lot of, I was having this conversation with Michael, who's here on my team the other day, and we were talking about how do you build a next generation brand? Everybody wants to talk about next gen. We want to talk about next gen. But what is next gen? Next gen is building brands for the next generation. And frankly, the next generation is not sitting in this room. I'm not the next generation for sure. So in order to build a brand for the next generation, We have to really put ourselves in the mindset of that next generation. And if the last 4 or 5 years haven't taught us anything, that absolutely has to be that you have to disrupt yourself faster than at times your own brands can. And we are all facing those problems today. Let me walk you through the process of how we build our modular. Now, Smalls did not invent the modular. Modular has been around for a long time. Actually, brands that I admire and love as well, like Dutch, etc., all use modular. Modular is really popular in the international markets, right? In especially global markets. A lot of these approaches are done throughout the world. But for us, the approach of how we do our modular is very unique to us. And we've spent a year plus in what does that look like for us, engage with global partners that help a lot of our brands define how we're going to solve for space and weight, right, of the modular. For us, the can is not just an operational strategy. It is an evolution of how we think about restaurant spaces and the impact that those restaurant spaces have on the community. So when we say that we don't open locations, we drop cans, we mean that. You know, we want a pad ready, we want to drop the modular, we want to hook things, and in a perfect world, you know, start selling cheeseburger sliders faster than you can build a building. So physically, again, the cans are both modular build-outs and sea cans, 750 square feet. We don't have interior dining. We only have patio. The patio is 100 square feet and the can inside is 750 square foot. So I call this tiny can living. If you've ever seen a show, Tiny Living, this is exactly what I mean. I call it a very comfortable 750 square foot. Some of our folks may not agree with that statement. And we call it can life. Now, we have to program ourselves to live in this space throughout. And this approach has been instrumental for us in driving both our throughput and our overall operational execution, especially as we go to other markets. And look, we're learning a lot. We are learning a lot. It's fascinating to watch consumer behavior, especially when you're doing a drive-through only concept. I am fascinated by the way these things are built. We have 6 modular partners across the country and how they come to life, from framework to electrical to putting of hoods and bathrooms and dropping those ready. I have been fascinated by the manufacturing of these things, and I've learned a lot along the way. The key here is to ensure that these cans that are transferred in a double wide across the country make it to our franchisees safe and sound, have a smooth arrival, and a smoother can drop. Okay, let's talk about the can drop. From the moment that the can is dropped in location, it takes roughly about 27 to 30 minutes. Once it's prepped, of course, the site has to be ready to transition the building into location. And then, of course, our half-an-acre model allows for more real estate opportunities. Real estate is tough these days, so we only use half a parcel, similar to smaller concepts, and it allows us to attract a wider audience. We also face difficulties with, you know, beautification committees and everything else, just like everybody else. But we're doing a very good job educating people as to the benefits of modular. You know, there's tax depreciation benefits. There's all sorts of things that come with being able to have a flexible environment as a restaurant space. And, you know, look, again, the consumer is teaching us very quickly what they want, faster than municipalities can keep up with. So, again, lots of benefits to driving the modular. Now let's talk about our cans. They do have an emotional connection with people, believe it or not. Again, we've done lots of consumer studies around this. And if we were to put every single comment we get, and we get thousands and thousands and thousands of comments inside a word cloud, these cans are almost in the minds of children like a game, right? They're a little Lego that drops from the sky and gets dropped and I want to go have, my cheeseburger slider there. And they promise a unique experience with great food. I mean, we do have a great cheeseburger slider, great food, speed, efficiency, all those things that challenge any preconceived notion of the QSR space. And while we've had great success as we've started to scale, 2024 is a year of elevating and expanding and learning and listening. Why? Because we are going into 8 states and we have 38 opens to go. Who's counting? I certainly have. And then we're integrating technology. We have to challenge, you heard the folks before me talk about frictionless experience. What is frictionless for today's consumer? We're doing a lot of work on defining what that phygital environment looks like for us, and that intersection of the digital and the physical space when 92% of all dining decisions are made on a phone. That's an important data point for us to work through. So we also have to solve for what happens when we go to cold climate. Prototype number 2. I may be leading, that might be part of the leading conversation. And consistency is very important to us. So this is a preview for you, by the way. We have our own color. We officially call it S'morange. If we were going to found a brand, and all great, there's a lot of great brands that were founded on orange. We needed to have our own shade of orange because, we don't want to be all sorts of other oranges. So this is an example of how we are really focusing on being very disciplined in the way we do things, from the way we paint our cans to the merchandise that we drop, to the way we slide through on opening day. I can tell you that developing our own Pantone, if you had told me of all the things that I was going to get to do in my career, developing a proprietary color was not on that list. And now that I've gone through the process, I highly recommend it. And we happen to be one of the very few food service brands that actually has its own Pantone. We're doing our press release, Michael, don't kill me, in about a week. And, then S'morange, you can find it at your local hardware store, which is great. While it might seem trivial, Pantone is a perfect example about how we're constantly challenging ourselves to evolve. 2 more things for you before I let you be. Number 1 is, look, we have, as of this morning, 230 cans under development or open across 18 states. In this world, we're cluttered with choices, small stands. I think in a very specific way, as a very simple way to approach brand positioning. And we are positioned to drive the best growth that we can with the help of our team members. Last but not least, I'll tell you the star of the real show is the team that we built, and I'm incredibly proud to be fully integrated with the communities that we service. 50% women, 30% people of color, 17% LGBTQIA, and for generations at work. And why is this important? Because Alpha Gen happens to be the most diverse generation in history. So bringing your whole self to the table and extending the table for others to play is very much part of lifting the small things and making it a very special brand. Keeping it simple, it's all about discipline. Discipline in the product that you serve and discipline in the way you stay true to the brand. We are not changing for Modular. That is a tough decision, and that is a hard decision to make. And we're very disciplined about making sure that we're carving that lane when we're carving a lane, there's no traffic. We're really not competing with anybody. We're just defining what that could be in the realm of possibility. Thank you for your time today. And thank you for allowing me to speak to you about our brand. Hopefully you get to experience it very soon. And thanks for sliding through.
Wonderful. Maria, thank you so much.